Evening, folks, and welcome to the Coltrane Conservatory of the Arts talk show, weekly talk show. We want to thank you for tuning in and like for you to stay with us for about 25 minutes. We have some things we want to share with you. And my name is Joe Pace III. If you would like to call in, the phone number is right on your screen, 312-738-1060. So if you want to call in and comment or you have something that you'd like to talk about, this is an interactive program, and so you have the privilege to do that. Now we want to talk a little bit to you today about different things that are happening at the school. We are a music school, as many of you know. We teach in all the instruments, except for the string instruments, the violin, the double bass, and things of that type, or the contrabasses it's called sometimes. We don't teach those. But all the band instruments, saxophone, trumpet, whatever instrument that you might like to play, piano, in addition to drums, a baritone, horn, a guitar, we train in all those instruments. And we want you to get involved with us. We're at 6353 South Cottage Grove. You can go to Channel 42, CAN Television, and get more information about these programs if you don't call us. Our phone number at the facility is 773-891-1875. You may give us a call there, and we'll be more than happy to go over answer all of your questions and go over these programs with you. Now, once again, as I was telling you a moment ago, that's a little crooked. There we go. That's better. All those instruments you see there on that page, on your screen, we train in those instruments. And if you've been thinking about playing an instrument, learning how to play an instrument for many years, like many of you have, or if you've been thinking about getting your child or your grandchild involved in something, some extracurricular activity, such as learning how to play an instrument, which will add disciplines to his or her life, and also it's been proven that by getting involved with the arts, especially music, it enhances everything else that we do. So you give us a call, and we'll be more than happy to get with you and to go over what we have. We have a free assessment. That's where you bring your child in, and we put them on an instrument and kind of go over a few things with them and evaluate where they are. Now, we also have a program whereby we allow people to come in and study in math and English. Our program is designed around verbs and adjectives and learning how to string a sentence together and make a paragraph out of it. Knowing the difference between, let's say, having a topic sentence of apples and then start to talk about oranges, you see what I'm saying? Which is the incorrect way of writing on paper. So those are the things that we teach, and recognizing that a noun actually impacts, how a noun impacts certain parts of the sentence, or what we call the parts of speech, how a verb impacts the sentence, you see, how an adverb, how an adjective impacts. These are a lot of things that people missed out when they were in school. And this gives you an opportunity to come to our place and to pick up on those skills. And once you get a lot of those fundamental skills together, you'll find that your writing, as well as your speaking, will be a lot better. And so we want to encourage you to give us a call at 773-891-1875. We don't have anybody on the phones on today. So what we want you to do is to call the facility and get more information, okay? Now, again, those of you who have been wanting to get involved with an instrument, wanting to learn how to play an instrument, trumpet, drums, saxophone, alto saxophone, tenor saxophone, soprano saxophone, and then of course there's the clarinet. All of those instruments we teach. Guitar, electric guitar, acoustic guitar, the drums, even the hand drums. In fact, we have a free hand drum program that we do on Saturday. This program is designed to provide an opportunity for youngsters to have something to do, to get off the streets, off these cold streets of Chicago, and they are cold in some cases, and to learn how to play an instrument. And this is for everybody. Now, this is done every Saturday from 10:30 to 11:30. On the screen, you'll see it says 12:30, but actually it goes from 10:30 to 11:30. It is open to adults also. We take children in from 8 years, and we take drum students in from 8 years and up. There's no ceiling. No matter how old you are, you can come in and learn how to play the drums. That program is totally free, and we'll be more than happy to teach you how to play a musical instrument and do that for you free. Okay? Now, I want to just talk about a few things that are on our mind today regarding what's happening in the world. As you know, we do deal with some social issues also. And the first thing I want to say to you is that it's incredible what's going on in the world in terms of all of the catastrophes that are happening now. And we certainly want to wish all of those people in Puerto Rico, those people that have been hit so hard, a double whammy for those people. They were missed somewhat by that first one, and then this one comes behind it, and from what I understand, slams directly into the island. And so our hearts and prayers go out to those people, and we hope that somehow they can get back to normal, and that there will be a minimal loss of lives and limbs. And then, of course, our hearts are going out also to the people in Mexico who experienced, I believe, a category, I believe it's 7 earthquake. And many young children were caught in a vicious crumbling of a school building. And from the last count I got, I think it was 30 children that had lost their lives, and that number is probably going up. So our hearts go out to the Mexican people, and we hope that somehow they can use this in order to become even a better country. You know, we have to look at these disasters and these calamities and all of this as being an opportunity to do better, to get better. You know, we hope that the Mexican government will build even stronger buildings to replace these buildings that will be able to sustain this type of earthquake. And then we hope that the people in the Philippines, please don't go there. But we hope that everybody who's been caught in these disasters, these hurricanes recently, whether or not it's in Puerto Rico, whether or not it's in the Virgin Islands, or even in Florida and Houston. The one in Houston was only about, I think it was 3 weeks ago, if not 2 weeks ago. Seems like it's been so long ago because they've just had so many of them. And so many things have happened until we've almost forgotten about Houston. But certainly our hearts go out to those individuals there. A lady came in our facility in our music school here. I believe it was yesterday, and she was inquiring about our music program for her son. And we found out a little later on, well, that she was from Florida, and she said that she lost her house as well as her car. So she was kind of running from that disaster, and she's come all the way up here to Chicago. Maybe she's with a relative or something. I could tell she had a fairly heavy southern accent. But anyway, so our hearts go out to those people. Now we want to, and those of you who can do something, please do something. Because those, everything, if you can send something to them, send it to them. And send it through some agency that is not going to spend it all on fancy hotels and plane rides for their staff. And there are some of them that do that. Someone told me that somewhere I read that many of these agencies, 80% of your of what you donate goes to administrative things, paying salaries and that type of thing, and flying people here and there and putting them up in hotels and company-owned cars and that type of thing. So what you want to do is you want to research and find an agency that 80% of what you donate is going to go to these people who've been caught in this horrible catastrophe. Okay? Now let's talk about some of the things that are going on in Washington. We know that Donald Trump on yesterday, I believe it was, made his infamous speech to the United Nations. And that speech, from what I understand, was received very poorly by the other nations. He basically insulted a number of countries and their leaders, beginning with Kim Jong-un. He said that he was going to destroy that country, the entire country of Korea. And on top of that, he referred to Kim Jong-un as Rocket Man. I mean, this is ridiculous. It sounds like children carrying a lot of food. Is this Rocket Man? President of the United States referring to another president of a country as Rocket Man. And not only that, but he said he was going to destroy, though he would have no alternative other than to destroy the country of Korea. But folks, let me tell you something. North Korea is right there next to South Korea. And I hope that Mr. Trump is not talking about nuclear weapons, because if you recall, just a few years ago, to even have a conversation about using nuclear weapons was taboo. You just couldn't do that because everybody knows the horrific results of a nuclear war. Now, if this man has missiles, we know that, and those missiles can go as far as they can go. Whether or not they can go, someone said that they can reach as far as Chicago. So that puts us in it, And so people in Chicago need to be up in arms saying, okay, let's cut this talk out about destroying some nation. Now, I don't know how you're going to destroy that nation with conventional war, because if I'm not mistaken, they have a huge army. And I can tell you this, folks, they got enough conventional weapons to put up a fight that far exceeds what, let's say, the Iraqis were able to do. We won't be able to march into that country and just take it over and destroy all of these historical buildings and maim old women and children and get out of there without hardly being scratched. We won't be able to do that there. So what I'm saying here is that we have to use diplomacy to try to get out, to try to solve this problem. And I cannot understand how the President of the United States would be threatening a country in this manner. What's Kim Jong-un going to be doing? What is he going to be doing while his country is being slaughtered or destroyed? Some tells me he's going to be destroying and slaughtering some things himself. You know, I've seen them on television, and that looks like a well-oiled machine. I just don't believe they're going to go down that easily. And I think Mr. Trump is pipe dreaming if he thinks he's just going to march a bunch of troops over there and send a bunch of airplanes and ships over there, and it's going to be over with in a few weeks, and we'll march back to Washington with a big grin on his face. I don't think that's going to happen like that. First of all, we have to, look for ways in order to bring North Korea into the mix of things. Because right now they have been kind of pushed aside a little bit. I mean, this has gone on for a long time. And I look at Germany and what happened there. I remember when Reagan said to Mr. Gorbachev, of course he was in the process of let's say, getting Germany back to wholeness. Already, Gorbachev was a very, very humanistic individual, and he is likely, if not the greatest of all of the Russian presidents. He's certainly one of them. But I can tell you this much. Reagan got on television. I think he was speaking to the United Nations or someone. He said, okay, Mr. Gorbachev, tear that wall down. And Gorbachev said, okay, I'm in the process of doing it anyway. No problem, sir. We'll tear it down. And West and East Germany were reunified. And the people were, and everybody, ever since then, Germany has been moving ahead and things have gone well. Now, we have to allow for that to happen in Korea. That problem will never be solved until North and South Korea are reunified just as East and West Germany were reunified. This is the big problem. They want the U.S., who's been in there for these many decades and generations, out of there. Out of that country. Nowhere near. No air bases, no military installations. They want the U.S. out of there. And they have every right to want the U.S. out of there. And those people are fighting. I mean, the everyday average person is so much behind their president. And when you hear them, they talk with pride about how they have developed their country in spite of everything that the U.S. has done to keep them from developing. We talk about how they're starving. I hear this in the news all the time. But every time I see the Korean people, they look just as healthy as any American around. I don't see anybody. They dress well. They have their schools. Their roads are cleaner and less bumpy than the ones here in Chicago, because we got some raggedy, bumpy roads in this town, especially on the south and west side of Chicago. So, but every time I see film or videos of their country, the people seem to be happy. The children are running and playing, and they are dressed well. So this there's just too much propaganda going on. Now, we might think maybe somebody is taking these statistics whereby they're supposed to not have but a certain amount of food supplies for this, that, or the other, and believing that if this is the case, then they must be nearly starving. But from what I understand, the Chinese and several other nations, the Iranians and several other nations, do business with the Koreans. And they do it in such a way where it is unnoticeable. And so that's probably the main reason why Kim Jong-un is not trouble when we start talking about we're going to impose more sanctions on him. He doesn't have to be, because he knows he can get everything that he needs from friends of Korea, and he knows how to work it in underground and this type of way. So I'm disappointed, and I hope that you are too, in our president and this saber rattling that he's been doing, because it's dangerous. It's dangerous. This man doesn't seem to understand the significance and the consequences of some of his statements, you see. And thank goodness for the French president, the British president, and the Chinese and the Russians for saying, let's try and do everything that we can diplomatically before we talk about any kind of war, because a war in that area, and furthermore, I want to say this right here too, that those people, that the Chinese will never sit back and allow that whole area to be blown apart and dominated by the Americans. Now, I'm not a diplomat, I'm not a politician, but I do have common sense. And in the same way that they did not allow the Americans to overrun the Koreans or the North Koreans during that Korean War, they will not sit back and allow this country to run roughshod over that country and establish themselves as a major power in that area. I do not believe it. I just don't believe it. And so I'm not sure what Trump is thinking about. And not only that, but the Russians have a stake in this thing. Those countries will not allow us to just run roughshod over in that area. So I think Mr. Trump, in his inexperience, someone referred to Mr. Trump, I'm not sure who it was today, but somebody, what did they say? I think they said something along the lines that he is, I think they said he's a newcomer, and I think he said I can't remember it, but anyway, it was not very flattering. It was something that criticized him. And I believe it was the Iranian president who said that he's some sort of newcomer who is, and he referred to him in a not a very pleasant way. So we want to make sure that all of us know that the nuclear weapons should be outlawed. And if we want to destroy our country, if we want to destroy the civilization that we have, let's start throwing those nuclear bombs around. And lastly, I just want to say that we cannot afford to have a president who every time he disagrees with someone, especially the Koreans, he starts talking about destroying somebody. We just can't have that. You know, that's a bully attitude. It's arrogance. It's everything that we should not be a part of. So folks, I want to thank you for tuning in on today. We look forward to seeing you on next week. This next week will be our last week for this season. And for those of you who are really interested in wanting to play an instrument, I want you to call 773-891-1875. and we'll get you going, okay? So we'll see you later. Take care.